Okay, so now that we have our base page laid out, let's talk about what we can do with photos. This is a pretty generic layout, so you've got lots of options here. I have it oriented this way, but we could easily flip this around so that it is oriented this way. Or, of course, we can flip it around so that the flowers are at the bottom instead. Or, of course, we can rotate it one more time and have a band down the middle. I'm liking either the option at the top or at the bottom. I just haven't decided yet, so let's start with the top and see where we're going to go with that. Now, I've pulled out 4 photos from my waiting to be scrapbooked photos. These are all from a trip to Vancouver Island to the Butchart Gardens. And obvious, simple layout is just to lay them across the top, like so. We have plenty of space for a title, and maybe do some kind of banner or something down here for the title. That would work really well. You can rotate this, of course, and do 4x6 photos. Now I don't have 6, but you get the idea, right? You could do across the bottom. You would still have enough of a strip for a title down here if you wanted, but there's nothing that says you can't do a title up along the top. If you really want to pack in the photos, you can also add 4 per page, right? So there is enough space here to do a complete wallpapering of this side. And you could do another 4 on this side, or you could choose to do 2 on this side. So pretend that there's still 4 here. And then you still have space for a title and journaling. So lots of options. I am liking this across the top, but I just want to see what it looks like along the bottom. So let's just flip this around. And I like the orientation of this going this way. That is okay too, but I think I prefer the other way. So we'll go back to what we were. So like I said, we can do a band or something down here. That might be kind of fun to add the title on. We can also pull out some stamps and maybe do some decorative items along this corner to frame in the title. Don't forget the stencil. That's also another option. Perhaps like the sunflower down here with a little bit of a journaling box would be kind of fun. Let's pull out the scraps that we have left over and see what we come up with. Okay, so I had a strip of this stripe still left in my stash. I cut a 2-inch strip, and I'm thinking that a little banner or something down here might be kind of fun to help balance out how busy it is up here. I don't want it to go the full length. I'm thinking maybe somewhere around there, so let me just trim that off. Okay, I think I like that. Let's pull out some embellishments. And I was thinking that these ones that we made earlier would be kind of fun, and that maybe we can just add them along the top, maybe one there, and one here, and one down where the title's gonna go. How about we add some of these sunflowers as well? So maybe one there. One like so. And I'm just kind of replicating each cluster. And then maybe one small one to kind of give it a group of 3. Maybe something like that. One over here. And one down there. I still got room for a title. I can do journaling above. I think that's probably going to work. I don't intend to do a ton of journaling. Actually, I don't even know if I'll do any because this is all part of a trip, so I will include the journaling somewhere else. One other thing that you can do if you are wanting a more defined journaling space, you can always take a label such as this one and you could tuck it up in this corner, and that would give you some journaling options as well if you don't want to include it down here. Or again, with that journaling, you could tuck it here and then you still have room for a title. And I actually do like that, and I think I'm going to go with it. This is a journal box from the printables that are part of the bonus class. But you know, any label would do in your stash. I'm really happy with how this is looking, so let me glue this down and then we'll talk about maybe some finishing touches. So here is how my page is turning out. It's just about finished. We just need some finishing touches on it. So there's a couple things you could do. You could go with enamel dots, which are quick and easy. You should have some purple cardstock left. If you cut out like 1/4 inch circles, you could use those like enamel dots and spread them around. If you have sequins, you can use those as well. I'm gonna try and use these liquid pearls from Ranger. This is Majestic Purple, and I'm gonna be daring. I'm gonna add a few of these on the clusters to finish this off. As you can see, I did the 3 different clusters for the flowers. I added my titles. These are just jelly bean soup stickers, alpha stickers. These are the free printable that I included in your package for the event. And let me get putting these down. Okay, so I just added some of those liquid pearls around the different flower clusters. I'm going to put these somewhere safe to dry, and there will be close-ups and photos posted in the Facebook group. So if you want a closer look at them, that's where you should head. And the Facebook group is Creatively Crafted Memories, and you do have to request to join if you have not already done so. So for this layout, what can we do? We can take a large photo, like a 5x7, and we can add that in here. We can move it off, especially if we want the title to go along the top. That would be kind of cute. If we flip it vertically, you could have it span. You could drop it. Something like that. With 4x6 photos, you can have a couple spanning across this way. Place your title, journaling here. If we flipped it, we could go like so. Or we can always trim these down to smaller photos, which is what I've opted to do in this case. So I have taken a 4x6 photo and I have trimmed this down to 3 3/4 by 5 7/8. So 3 3/4 by 5 7/8. And I have a second photo that I have trimmed down to 3 3/4 by 3 7/8. So not quite a perfect square. And you could do something like this. Have them both covered on the mat. Actually, probably move these over. Something more like that. You put the title here, journaling here, or you've got all this space for a title and journaling. If you wanted to cover more of the border, you can move it up. Again, a great spot for journaling and then a title. But I'm actually going to switch it around, and I'm going to make this a column and span it like that. So when I first look at this and I'm trying to decide where to put clusters or embellishments, I tend to look for intersection points, as that's often where your eye is drawn to anyways, and so by adding a cluster on that, it just emphasizes that direction that you want things to go in. So for me, an obvious cluster would be right here. So for embellishments, I thought I would use the birds, and in this case I've got the tag with the little bird on and the 2 little birds with buttons. And because I have so much space here to play with, it makes sense to use the biggest embellishment cluster over on this side in some way. So that leaves one of these birds to go up in this corner and one to maybe go down here or over here. One in this top corner, one over here in some manner, and then either in this intersection or to really draw out your eye, move over here. I'm not liking that this is the same paper as the border, so I'm losing visibility of the bird. So I went into the scraps and I punched a, I think this is a 1 3/8 inch circle punch. And what we're going to do is we're just going to swap, we're just going to stick that underneath and then add the bird on top. Now you can see him. I'm also not liking how this white is on white. You lose some of the definition of the tag. So to repeat the element, we're going to take a circle and we're just going to tuck it underneath like so. Whether this is the final placement or not, I'm not sure yet. For the last bird, I actually had one of these embellishments. These are one of the layered embellishments from the Creative Memories collection. And I'm thinking if we put this down here, it could go right there. And then the little bird could be something like that. If we move this over to this corner, we change the direction around and then the little bird would go there. I'm not sure what I prefer at this point, so I'm not going to commit to that just yet. Okay, and then I also wanted to bring in some of these little flowers again, just to tie everything together, and I think that would look really cute, just added there. This one, I'm probably going to cover the word seasonal. I know it seems a little bit strange that I added it and now I'm going to cover it, but you know, that's just the way it works sometimes when you pre-make things. And on this one, I am going to just add the sunflower on top of the printed image to tie the 3 clusters together. I don't have a ton of journaling to go with this particular layout. Again, this is all part of a bigger trip, and I will journal the entire trip somewhere else. But I do want to include a title, and it's just going to be my favorite garden, and I think I'm going to place that right along the middle here. Let me get adhering this down and then I'll come back and show you the final page. Okay, so here is the finished layout. I did add some more of these rhinestone beads from Hobby Lobby. They were already on this tag, so I just added them as finishing touches on this one. I also opted to add a label to fill in this spot. I like that better than having this over there. It just felt too squished. So having the embellishment down here, I think, opens up the layout, and then I just use this spot for my journaling. I think that looks just fine. A couple other things you could consider doing. This yellow piece is very plain, which is not necessarily a bad thing because I think your eye does need places to rest, but you could do a black border around the edge to just kind of frame it out a little bit more. That's another option. So close-ups of this layout will be in the Facebook group if you are interested in seeing them, and we're going to call this one done. So this is another layout that can go in any direction that you need it to go in. Obviously you can do the rotating like we've talked about before, right, to get different looks. You can have it going across the top, and there really is no limitation as to photo placement on this one at all. I've printed out a number of photos just to kind of show you some ideas as to what you can do. Move this around. We've got like, could do something like that. We can shift everything down, right? If this was all, if you had all horizontal, you could just wallpaper them along that way. You could also bring these down below the brown or below the border. I mean, you do cover up the border, but if you wanted to get more photos in, you could do that as well and just have a little bit of a border on the top and the bottom. Or you could go 3 like that, have maybe this one go this way, or a larger photo, smaller, lots and lots of options. Okay, so I, of course, have a plan because I printed these out specifically. So I am going to place the 4x6 right up against the border. It does mean you lose a bit of the pattern paper, but that's okay. There's still going to be plenty to be seen. We've got something going like that, and then this little guy is going to come down here. And then these 2x2 photos, what I want to do is I want to do a column going down this way. And the only cardstock that I have left that will accommodate that is the Champagne Shimmer. So what I'm thinking of is doing a little collage piece of these down probably to about here. I'm thinking, let me trim this out. I'm probably going to trim this out to 4.5 inches wide. So let's start with that. I'm going to trim these down into 2x2 squares. Okay, so I'm thinking something along this line. So we need to, or I need to trim this down a little better. Clean up some of these, they're not quite 2 inches. I don't know why my printer does it, but it doesn't print properly. Okay, so I will measure this out, and then the plan is for the missing pieces in the grid is to use some of these that we created. Actually, we'll maybe do this one down here, that one up there, is to fill in some of the spaces with those items. And I'm going to be short one, so we'll have to go back to the sticker sheet and see if we can make another one. So that's the thought process. Let me glue down what I've got going on. Before I start gluing down everything, I'm going to show you a couple other items that I want to incorporate. Those border strips we made, I'm going to tuck that just along the border here. And of course this will go underneath, like so. And then from the sticker sheet, I am going to use these border strips and then put them underneath so that this kind of just lays over top. I hope this makes sense. So you can just kind of see the leaves kind of peek out underneath. So that's what's going to be layered underneath there. I've got one more pumpkin, which is good. We can fill that spot up. So I'm going to trim all of this down and then glue this down the way it is pretty much, and come back and show you where I'm at that point. I have that all glued down. I've also adhered the small photos to the strip. This is about 10.5 by, and I did trim this down to 4.25. So I had originally trimmed it to 4.5, 4.25. So in case you are interested in. Now the way this plays out, if I run this all the way to the top, I don't really like where this is cutting off. So you have a couple of options. One, you could add another trim or something at the bottom to make it a little bit longer, or we can just shift this down, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to move it all the way. I'm just going to center it on the page. So let's do that. Now, the nice thing about doing a grid layout like this is that it doesn't matter how many photos you have. I happen to have 6, but if you had fewer, you would just fill in the grids with something different, right? Okay, so now that I have those, I haven't glued them down yet, but now that I have those in place, that's looking pretty good. I think my title is just going to go across the top, and there's a couple of things that I'm not liking. So I'm not liking how or what is it, this rusty color overlaps with this. So I pulled out some of these leaves that we made in the embellishment class. These were the ones done with the Copic markers, and I'm thinking that what we can do is just tuck a couple of these under here just to break that up, and I think I like that much better. And then to tie this in, we'll go over maybe on this side and add some leaves here as well. And I don't think I'm going to do much more embellishing than that. I think there's already a lot going on between the paper, all the little embellishments in the grid, and then adding the leaves and the title. I think that's going to be good enough, but we'll do a final assessment after I get the title on. So let me work on that and I will be back. Okay, I pulled out another Jelly Bean Soup alpha stickers to do the title, and I just kept it very simple, just pumpkin Disney style. And on these I did add some little dashes around the rust colored paper just to kind of make them stand out a little bit more. And I did also put a line down at the bottom. I contemplated going all the way around, but I thought that would be too busy, and I just felt it needed a little more grounding at the bottom, so I just added that there. And I know I said I wasn't going to add anything more, but you know, sometimes more is more. I have these leaf sequins, and I'm thinking of using these kind of copper ones and just kind of tucking them in around here. Just add a little bit of something, I'm thinking. So I'm going to do that next, and then I will show you the finished page. Okay, so here's how I added them. I just kind of tucked them in so they just look like part of the leaf pile on this layout. And then on this one, I did the same thing with the leaves, but then I also added them as part of the embellishment clusters, just to kind of make those spaces fill out a little bit more. So that is this layout complete. Okay, so for this layout, you can use a 5x7 photo. Just adhere it like so. You've got space for journaling or a title. You can also flip it this way. You've got lots of space for a title and journaling. You can also take two 4x6 photos. Now this mat happens to be 6 inches wide, so if you do want a mat all the way around, you would need to trim. Or what I'm thinking of doing is taking 2 photos and offsetting them slightly to give the mat on 3. I think that just kind of balances out how busy this corner is, which is why I am thinking of going that direction. Of course, you can always flip them and do 2 4x6 verticals, and again, you would just align them, lots of space for matting, etc. Or you can always bring them down. Although I would probably watch this little corner here. I don't think I would want that to show, so it would be something along those lines. Or of course you could just do 1 photo, however you want to do it. Add some embellishments. Lots of options. I'm going to stick with the 2 4x6 photo horizontals. As far as embellishments, I was wanting to play off the sunflower idea, so I pulled out some of the printables, and I've got a larger one and a smaller one. And I also pulled out some of the leaves that I colored. These ones were done with the oxide inks, and I'm thinking it might be kind of fun to maybe adhere these in such a way that kind of tuck behind the sunflower, and maybe in this corner here. That just seems like a really great junction spot. And then maybe, because this is quite an embellishment all in itself, and here's another one, so to make that visual triangle, something in this direction. So you could maybe tuck a couple leaves under here, so that's an option. Or you can bring everything down and maybe do something down in this corner. Always lots of options, right? That's what's the beauty of kind of doing these base pages, and then nobody's page is going to look exactly the same. Another thing that I've been thinking that might be a cool option is to use the stencil, and we have this big sunflower, and that might look kind of cool coming off this corner, and then maybe just adding a flower or a leaf, just kind of overlapping it a little bit. I think I like that. Let's start with this. I'm going to use this Distress Oxide Mustard Seed for this sunflower. I've just taped this in position with where I wanted. It is going to fill up a good portion of this corner. I did position it in such a way that the lines start off the purple. Now remember, I am going to have this staggered a little bit off, so it is going to cut into it, but I'll still have a little bit of space for doing journaling if I choose to do so. I'm not worrying about doing yellow for the entire image. I will go over the lines and the circle with a brown pen, probably, just to keep it easy. It's always a little bit scary when you start to apply ink directly to your layout, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to just add a little bit of brush corduroy on top. This is a little too bright relative to the other images, so I'm just going to kind of muddy it up a little bit, I think. I'm hoping this will do the trick. It's not a particularly dark brown, so I'm thinking that will be just what we need. Okay, so before I pull the stencil off, like I said, I'm going to add this brown penwork to it. This is a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen in Walnut Brown. And I am just going to do the outline and then the lines across. Now for the big reveal. Okay, so I got a little smudging, so I'm not thrilled about that. But it's not the end of the world. We'll make it work. Okay, so I went ahead and added my journaling. Now we're just going to start adhering our embellishments. I'm thinking I can cover up those little smears by adding these leaves down below, and then we'll just add the sunflower. Maybe something like that. Okay, and we need a foam square, just like so. Okay, so I just adhered these 3 sets of leaves randomly, and then we're just going to affix some foam tape behind the flower. Just like so. And now we just need some finishing touches to finish this one up. I am not going to put a title on this one. If you did want a title, there is space up here. You could also have done a title here instead of journaling. That would work as well. Or just strategically reposition these and then have space down here for a title. I'm going to use the liquid pearls in purple again, just to add some finishing touches. Okay, so I kept this super simple and just added 3 dots down at the corner and 3 up here. I didn't add anything in this area because there's lots of purple already, and I think we'll put this someplace safe to dry. There will be close-ups for this on the Facebook group if you are interested in seeing those, and this one is done. For this next layout, we can go in multiple directions. Like everything else, you can rotate things around, so this would be one option. I am opting to use it this way, and this was designed to fit 4x6 photos in here. So the idea being you could just stick 6 photos down, which is actually what I am going to do, but we'll talk about some of the other options. Obviously, if you rotate this, you can get verticals, right, instead of horizontals. You can do what I've done here, where I've printed 2 3x4 photos as a 4x6, so that covers. It's a little bit tricky if you want to go this way, right, because you're going to end up with some gaps here, but there's nothing that says you can't do something like this. You know, if you want to add even more photos. So there are options. You just have to play around with it. You can leave a little bit of a gap if you want to have a border. And going over this isn't going to hurt any. This just becomes a natural cluster for an embellishment. Okay, but like I said, I am going to go with the way that it was designed, which is 4 6 horizontals. My title is going to go in this large one, and then I'm going to have an embellishment cluster up here. For embellishments, I pulled out some of the printables again. I took this really large one. I'm thinking that might look kind of cute there. I also have a smaller one for on this side. So again, I'm just kind of mirroring what happens on each of the clusters. I have one of these flowers here that I'm thinking would look probably pretty cute down this way, and I've got 2 smaller ones that maybe we can frame out this circle a little better. There were also a couple of bees, which, you know, always works with garden photos. And so I'm thinking maybe a bee up here and one up here. And I also pulled in some of those wood veneer leaves that I had bought at Hobby Lobby. And I'm thinking maybe we can tuck these in somehow. Something like that. Still room for a title and a little bit of space for journaling if I want. And I was also thinking that some stamping might be kind of fun. So I'm going to pull this stamp set out again. It's called Country Flowers. It is a Ranger set. I think it's from Wendy Vecchi, if I believe I'm correct. And I'm thinking this might be kind of fun just to have some images stamped around here and around the edge in just like a brown and not color them in. I'm not sure if I dare do it. Do I dare do it? You know what? Why not, right? So let me experiment with it so you don't have to. You can see how it's going to look. Okay, so the stamping turned out better than I even thought it would. I just added a couple flowers, some leaves, and on this side I didn't have as much real estate, so I have a couple of partial flowers and some partial leaves. And I think that looks really cool. So now I'm just going to add the embellishments, add my journaling and my title, and I'll be back and show you the finished page. Okay, so here is the completed layout. I added the printables and the flowers and the wood veneer, as I mentioned earlier. Here's my title, Island Bliss. These are just some thickers. These are the little tile squares that you got in your printable, in your free printable. And on this side, I did my journaling in a gold pen with a very, very old Creative Memories metallic pens. I mean, I don't even know how old this is. I'm amazed it still works. I don't usually have much luck with gel pens, but this one has been spectacular. It's probably close to 20 years old, I would think. So I did my journaling up here, added the printables. I'm not going to add any other embellishments, no enamel dots or anything like that. I think the stamps have kind of added those finishing touches already. So that is this layout. Close-ups of the layout will be over on the Facebook group. And that wraps up the scrapbooking class. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to post photos of your layouts or partially completed layouts over on the Facebook group. We'd love to see and be inspired.